Extra core members.
Just like over here? Yeah.
Like right behind.
Filter in, yeah. Come on in.
We'll do half the speakers on the inside. Yeah, it's okay.
Squeeze in a little
I'm
bit.
sure we have enough cameras.
Media all set. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for a bittersweet announcement. Sweet because our council has really stepped up in a big way at the committee level with the action taken by our personnel committee to assure employment for our Conservation Corps for an additional month. Alder Presley is also going to be speaking about some additional action that we hope that council will take this evening to further extend our Conservation Corps program here. But really want to start by thanking Maria Otto, who is our Conservation Corps coordinator. All of our Corps members, not all of our Corps members, but the Corps members behind us, all of the Corps members that have served the city through AmeriCorps, through our Conservation Corps over the years of its existence. I think Maria might talk about some of the work that's been done, but it's been really impressive, right? I mean, hundreds of acres of invasive species removed, a lot of trail restoration work, hundreds of volunteers. I think it's 575 community volunteers have been engaged as a result of this. It's an incredible partnership between, in this case, our local government here in the city of Green Bay and our federal government. The story of AmeriCorps is one of partnership between our federal government and local communities and local organizations throughout the United States. But it's also one of amazing bipartisanship as well. Really, since its founding, going all the way back to kind of inspiration for it in the 1930s with Civilian Conservation Corps, to the 60s with LBJ and the VISTA program. Under Clinton, under George W. Bush, under his father, H.W. Bush, I mean, continued support for this program, and not until very recently, with the actions of our federal administration, have we seen this program really be attacked. Now, I think you're seeing pushback happen, throughout the country. Republican Congressman Don Bacon, who represents Omaha, Nebraska, just recently wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, just talking about the benefits that he's seen firsthand through AmeriCorps. And so we're here again to thank the council for the action that's been taken at the committee level to encourage further support at the council level tonight, but to also really ask our citizenry to step up and advocate for this program that's been so valuable to the city of Green Bay and to so many communities across the country. It's really incumbent on our Congress to weigh in on this. The funding that's been cut was authorized by a previous Congress, right? The program of AmeriCorps was created by Congress. A presidential administration can't simply come in and eliminate both funding sources and programs that have been put in place, by our legislative body. They're the ones that make the laws. And so it's really important that the president move through a rescission bill, not to get too in the weeds about it, but a rescission bill for our Congress to say yay or nay to, or to tweak here and there. And we deserve that debate as a country. We feel like we're going to be able to win that debate if it's offered to us by our Congress with AmeriCorps and some other initiatives as well. So we've got a lot of speakers before us. I'll just conclude by, again, recognizing the benefit that Maria and the Conservation Corps has brought to the city of Green Bay. We really believe in it as a program, want to see it continue to flourish. We have some other plans to grow it and expand it and change it to benefit other areas of our community. So I'll leave it there. I also, just before I turn it over, want to recognize a few other elected officials. So Representative Ryan Spouty is behind us, a big supporter of our city down in Madison. Really appreciate him being here. And then, of course, we have a number of council members. You'll hear from Alder Presley, but then also President of our council, Alder Johnson, Alder Eck, and Alder Hinkfist have joined us. And really, this program has benefited from universal support from this council and from past councils. So just reiterating our thanks to them. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to now Representative Ahmad Rivera-Wagner. He, of course, as you all know, served as Chief of Staff here in the city of Green Bay, was really instrumental in figuring out how we could create a Conservation Corps program here within the city with his expertise with AmeriCorps. So without his work, without Maria's incredible guidance, we wouldn't have the program that we have here before you. So with that, I can turn things over to Ahmad.
The mayor is as always, in too kind. Really, it was a vision the mayor had for a civilian conservation corps. And I had the pleasure of serving as his chief of staff. And one of my little known secrets that I don't often talk about now because I'm not very proud, but no one ever asks, is I served in AmeriCorps. I was one of 3 people who graduated business school that went on to serve in Holyoke, Massachusetts, one of the poorest communities in the country, to help encourage people to get involved in their local government. I then went on to run a program for AmeriCorps, helping young people actually find and build their own capacity by working in nonprofit agencies and government agencies. And then, because when you do a bad job, you get a promotion, I then became the program officer for the Service Alliance, helping to run every AmeriCorps program in the state of Massachusetts. And so it's really deep in my blood to see how important this program is, the impact it can make. Its history, as the mayor said, is a beautiful one of bipartisanship. Over 30 years of specific bipartisan support has AmeriCorps engendered, meaning that for the vast majority of my life and the previous generation, this program has never seen the partisan bickering that we often see at the national level and sometimes can trickle down to the local level. What we do know is it's a 3-to-1 match, meaning that this federal program allows for every dollar of investment by a local government or local nonprofit to get $3 worth of federal monies. That's an incredible program that cannot be replicated. Almost no other program like this exists. But what's even more powerful is that for every dollar invested in a year of service, we get $17 of positive economic impact in the city. So if you're looking for efficiency, if you're looking for larger impact, there could be nothing more powerful than AmeriCorps. But on top of that, it has granted over $1 billion worth of scholarships to people serving or being able to pay down their debt. This is something that folks can use for a 2-year degree, 4-year degree, learning a second language. These fuel our local institutions, and this program has made that possible. So when we look at this program from the math standpoint, you can see nothing but a benefit. But what I really want to make sure that we're clear about is the emotional impact that we have here in this community. We made the first ever municipal Wisconsin Conservation Corps in the history of the state, because we had great partnerships with the federal government, our local municipalities, and local partners on the ground to really make a positive impact. Not too often do we get to pull together people from all different industries, walks of life, from the business community to institutions of higher learning to local government, all have come together to really support this program, and we've seen the positive benefits of that. For the first time ever, we're watching how partisan politics can really have a negative impact at a local level for something that has a complete positive impact for this community. I'm thankful to Governor Evers, who has gone on to sue this administration, saying that you cannot just stop funding that's already been allocated. If you are interested in zeroing out this program, there's a traditional budget process that we all know, the Common Council is very aware, and that you make your case to the Congress to ensure that there's a change in budget. That's not what happened here. What happened here is that in the middle of a program which was already funded, these members are actually working right now. These folks were paying their bills, they were doing their service, and they got a notice that they no longer have service to provide for this community. Not because they've done something wrong, but they happen to be in the crosshairs of a political fight that had nothing to do with them. They are now going to be unemployed. What I'm excited about is that this Common Council is stepping up and doing something that will potentially make history itself. We may be the only program that allows people to finish out their year in all of Wisconsin, because this community is about taking care of one another. This community knows the value of something positive, and they know the value of partnership. And so I'm thankful to the Common Council. I'm thankful to the mayor. I'm thankful to Maria, who's, without her leadership, this vote tonight won't solve all of our problems. We may not have a program in 6 months, but the members deserve to be able to have and finish the end of their service. And the Common Council, which I really believe that they will do, will support them being able to finish their service with dignity. So I'm incredibly thankful to the mayor, to the Common Council, to the governor. I look forward to the support of this initiative and glad that I've been able to be a small part of making history here in Wisconsin. And with that, I'd like to introduce the real star of the AmeriCorps program, Maria Otto.
There's not too much more I can say about the support. The support that we've had from the community. This program has done immense work in this community. It has brought people together in education. It has brought people together in volunteerism and community service. We've built community. We have built these partnerships throughout all industries. We've only been active for 2.5 years. We're in our 3rd program year, and already we have been having immense impact, direct impact that our neighbors are seeing, and that's why we have that support. I just want to highlight one project. I know we have a lot of other speakers tonight, so I'll be brief. But we see a need in the community. We hear from the neighborhoods. We get a request. We received a request in 2023 that one of our downtown parks was flooding every spring. They couldn't use the area to play soccer or football. They couldn't use the walkway. And the flooding had increased to going off of the park property onto public property. The neighborhood said, hey, this is an issue. Can you help us? We are able to gather support within 2 months. We got local funding to purchase plants. We are able to use the expertise of our members, allow them the professional experience to not only design, but plan a rain garden and native planting. I went back there last week after all the heavy rains, and we see flooding and standing water everywhere like we do in the city of Green Bay in the spring, and not a drop of water was over that walkway. The turf grass is usable for soccer, for picnics, for walking. The water is no longer going off of public property onto private property. That was all done in the span of 2 months because we had the immense support of the community, but more so because of the work of the core members. And we have a few core members that are going to speak, and they can speak to it much better, but these are the most dedicated and passionate people you will ever meet. They don't do this to get rich. They don't do this to get famous. They do it because they're committed to community service. They're committed to Green Bay and making this area better for everyone. They're out in 0-degree weather, they're out in 100-degree weather, rain, snow, all of it, because they know that what they're doing has an incredible impact. And I just want to wrap up with quoting some of the AmeriCorps pledge, because AmeriCorps at the heart is about getting things done. The AmeriCorps pledge starts with the first sentence being, I will get things done for America to strengthen communities. That is the heart of AmeriCorps. The pledge continues, and I'll just leave you with 3 lines. Faced with apathy, I will take action. Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground. And this next one, more than ever in this time, faced with adversity, I will persevere. And that's what we're here to do tonight. So I just want to, again, echo the thanks that everybody has been giving to the community, to our members, to the Common Council, who is here to make something possible. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Alder Joey Preston.
Thank you, Maria. I'm Joey Presley. I'm the Alder for Green Bay District 6, which includes the Wildlife Sanctuary and Bay Beach, where the Conservation Corps has done some excellent work over the past couple of years. I'm also a member of the Sustainability Commission and the Parks Committee. We have, to put it lightly, been very, very fortunate to have the Conservation Corps in our community. They are doing things like removing invasives, the buckthorn, the phragmites that have been filling up different green areas and planting native plants. They have created the pollinator corridor, which is bringing butterflies and bees and pollinators, creating habitat for them. They have really, in a short amount of time, relatively, made our city more green, more sustainable, and more climate resilient. They have done a wonderful job. So losing federal funding is disheartening. It hurts. I think we hear that from the people who are talking now, and I've heard that from people who live in my district who have seen all the good that they have done and are hurt by the idea that that good is going to be taken away. These are young people. Like Maria said, they are not trying to make money off of this. Honestly, they are not paid enough for the work that they do. They get a stipend. They don't even get a salary. But they are doing it because they care about the community, because they care about the world, and because maybe they're preparing for careers in conservation. But really, they just want to do good. So pulling that funding so suddenly is difficult, and it feels cruel. It's difficult. It hurts me and it hurts our community. So I don't want to see that. I don't want to see them just dropped off a cliff, just fired. These are people's jobs that they are doing. And they care about it more than they care about the money, but it is money. It is a paycheck. There is a proposal that went through Finance Committee that is coming before us today, is on the agenda, to pay them through the end of the month. I don't think that's enough, and I don't think this community thinks that is enough. So I'm going to propose an amendment to continue the funding through the end of the grant term, which would be August, using ARPA interest dollars. So taking that money, $115,000, would not restore it to where we wanted it to be, but it would at least limp us through the end of the grant term. And I think that we owe that to the Conservation Corps members who are going to speak in a bit. These are people who are really passionate and who are doing some great work. This is good for the projects that we have ongoing. It's good for the investments we've made into plants that are just going to sit or we're going to have to get rid of in some way or another. This is good for our community. So it's something that I really support, and I hope and I believe that council will support as well. It's a small price to pay, really, to make sure that we give these people an off-ramp and not just throw them off a cliff. And if we can find in the future some funding to make sure that the Conservation Corps can come back, I really hope that we can. But for now, I think we owe it to them to right the wrong that has been done and to give them the respect that they deserve. That's what we ought to do. So thank you, and I will turn it over to whoever of the Conservation Corps would like to speak.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Kaylee Kafura. I want to thank you all so much for being here, for amplifying our voices, and for fighting for us. Like I said, my name is Kaylee Kafura. I'm a crew member of Green Bay Conservation Corps. It's quite possible some of you didn't even know we existed or the work that we do until this very moment. I'm hoping to put a face to our name as these devastating federal cuts led to our work being promptly halted last week when our funding was cut overnight. Green Bay Conservation Corps is a boots-on-the-ground field crew of mostly young folks who are stewarding your public lands, parks, and wildlife sanctuary right here in your city. We are the ones removing thousands of invasive species and restoring the land to its native habitat. We are mulching your trails and your rain gardens, installing biofilters to mitigate flooding and improve water quality, surveying our frog populations in the dead of night, hand planting miles of food sources for our pollinator corridor, and building relationships through volunteer events. For me, serving with our crew has reconnected me to where I grew up. Through this work, I've experienced a deeper appreciation for the ecological beauty of this place and the broader community working to protect it. Being a member of the Conservation Corps means that I have the opportunity to be a part of a larger ecosystem of people making a tangible difference every single day. History has shown us the consequences when society does not value the health of our environment, but today we have the opportunity to learn from those mistakes and invest in this important work. When we see the land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with love and respect. I hope that our decision makers feel compelled to take action today after hearing our stories and knowing our impacts. I hope that we collectively refuse what we know is wrong and fight to protect what matters. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lyric Esslinger. I am a member with the Green Bay Conservation Corps. Ever since I graduated from college, I've been searching for a position to improve our environment. I was so excited to get a call back from the Green Bay Conservation Corps after years of applying to similar positions. AmeriCorps gave me experience and the network to grow into this field. On top of that, at the end of my term, I would receive an education award to pay off some of my student debt or continue my education. The grant money, which was abruptly canceled by the Department of Government Efficiency, was for the community and the American people, supporting everything from disaster relief to helping young adults find clear career paths and hopeful futures. I know my story is reflected in my fellow crew members. We care deeply about our community. We currently have $100,000 of trees and plants in our greenhouse and at the botanical gardens that haven't been planted. These need to be planted to replace over 40 acres of invasive plant species we recently removed. This is one of the many examples where the grant money we planned to receive was allocated to cultivate a healthy community. We need this funding so we can roll up our sleeves and finish what we started. Thank you.
Well, thanks again to all of our speakers, but especially to our Conservation Corps members for their comments, but more importantly for the amazing work that they've done on behalf of the city and our residents here for the last few years. So with that, open it up to any questions that you all have for any of us back here.
Mayor Alder Presley, can you talk about the dollar amounts? How much is this going to cost for 1 month? How much is it going to cost to extend it all the way through August in terms of city money, and where does that come from? It was mentioned, but just to boil the numbers down.
So Alder Presley is proposing an amendment of $115,000 using ARPA interest funding, and that dollar amount, given Maria's calculations, would be able to get us through through August.
Is there a dollar amount attached to the 1 month extension?
I mean, I think you could do the division there, but
You don't
but
want me to do that.
it's $115,000 to get us through the term.
Awesome, thank you.
And was that funding allocated for anything else in particular that will now need to find funding elsewhere, or
Right.
programs being put on pause because of the reallocation of that money?
So that is unallocated ARPA interest dollars. That's within the city's coffers.
Is that just paying, I guess, their salary, and would go towards any sort of refund as far as schooling goes?
Right.
Yeah, so that would just cover the personnel costs. So just the salary. It would not cover the gap in the education award that they're going to see.
All
And what about
13 members coming back?
The proposal is going to be to fund 13 members, yes.
And the funding for any of the things you need, like, $100,000 of, plans and things like that have already been purchased, any other monies that you guys would need to finish any other programs that you've started, would that be available to you at all?
That hasn't been allocated and most likely will not be needed. So all of the plants and trees we've grown from seeds that we collected locally. So all of that plant material has been a labor of love from the core members. And so that is grown and is ready to get out of our greenhouse and into the ground. So without this program, we would lose out on the benefit of all of that. So if you were to compare the number of plants and trees that we have in our greenhouse to what it would be at a retail cost. It's about $100,000, just over.
And in terms of the work that is being done here in the uncertain future beyond the plan that you guys have set forward for council to discuss today, would there be any room for other city employees to maybe pick up where the Corps has left off, or would that work stall until another plan could come to fruition where they could possibly come back?
Yeah, prior to the Conservation Corps, there were no city staff allocated to the work that the Corps has been able to do. So with uncertainty, we're unable to answer that question right now. Right now, our focus has been how do we finish out this program year before we can start discussions on what does this mean for us next program year starting September 1st. So that's going to be future discussions on what that can look like. And I want to highlight again that what we're proposing, the 13 members, that's just under half of what we were anticipating for our workforce from the AmeriCorps program. So we were anticipating to bring on an additional 15 members above and beyond the 13 with the AmeriCorps funding. So already this summer we're going to be well below what we had planned. And so we will be, reaching out and relying heavily on the community to help us and to volunteer and to fill those gaps.
Is this funding cut affecting the tutoring programs that are funded through AmeriCorps, like reading or
Yeah, some of those programs have been affected. So at the state level, so we're a subgrantee of the state, so our federal dollars pass through the state level, and all state programs in Wisconsin have felt the cuts of this.
And one thing just to note, and our council's obviously familiar with this, but we were planning some expansions, given the benefits of Conservation Corps expanding into something that we were branding as Community Corps. So we have a Community Corps coordinator who's on staff with the city, supported by our council. Maria, I don't know if you just wanted to talk about elements of that are now being deprived.
Yeah, so our future grant application, which was submitted last fall, that would take into effect September 1st of this year, included 2 different expansions of the program, one being a community core. That community core would help build community at the base level, help the downtown area as well as other neighborhoods, getting into more of the outreach sector, not necessarily just, in the dirt with the Conservation Corps. So that community core was going to have pretty big impacts on this community, and we had already been working with local organizations, nonprofits, to expand into that and fill gaps that are there. So we've spent about the last year researching, talking with the community, identifying those gaps, and building a program to help fill those like we did with the Conservation Corps, but on a community level. The second expansion that we were planning was to expand the Conservation Corps to not look at restoration at a property line level, but be able to do restoration work more on a watershed or ecological level. So a lot of our properties, especially along our riverways, butt up right next to other municipalities, Alloway, and we're able to do stream bank restoration up to our property line. So looking at expanding the Conservation Corps to be able to do these more efficient and effective restoration on larger scales was the second expansion that we are hopeful for come September. That's now again an uncertainty.
Both of those were not started in September?
Yes. Yep. So September 1st is when the new program year would have started for AmeriCorps, and that would have included the brand new AmeriCorps program of the Community Corps and expanding the Conservation Corps.
And funding was already approved for those expansions?
The grant was submitted in October, but we have not heard back as far as if that was approved or not. That's still an outstanding grant application.
Mayor, are you kicking around ideas already for ways to fund this beyond August?
I mean, it'd be really difficult to fund and operate a program like this without that federal partnership. So we feel confident in what we're proposing tonight, what Alder Presley is offering, but it's really a Band-Aid. This is something that there's no such thing as a free lunch, and it hasn't been that for the city of Green Bay. We put real money up to make this program happen, but it's a 3-to-1 match, right? And so we would have to come up with 3 times the dollar amount that we've allocated for this. Related to your question earlier, that would also come without any kind of an educational benefit. That is, probably one of the largest benefits associated with AmeriCorps at the federal level. So I think it'd be very difficult, not to speak for council, but I think it'd be very difficult for us to find the dollars to continue operating a program of this scale, especially when you're talking about some of the expansions that Maria alluded to.
This program was around for about 2.5 years, and it sounds like a lot of work has already been done, and there was so much more restoration work that you guys were hopeful for. If, let's say, the worst case scenario does occur and the Conservation Corps isn't able to operate anymore in Green Bay, what could some of those environmental consequences be that we might see in the future if their work isn't done?
So in terms of ecological restoration, it's never a one and done. You never go to 1 acre and remove an invasive and expect there never to be another invasive or weed there. It's usually about a 3 to 5 year process to fully restore, to get the habitat working and being able to kind of protect itself and work how it should with minimal human impact. But you do need those intensive 3 to 5 years to restore. So, if this work were to stop, the past 2.5, 3 years of work and the time and the money and the investment would slowly go back to what we saw before this program started. So our parks would be, invaded with invasives. Our trails would be less usable, less accessible, and we would go back to kind of the quality that we were at before the program.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too. You guys, I love y'all. We all have you.